6:03 p.m. on April 10th, 2025. In accordance with Massachusetts law, we are meeting virtually. The meeting has been properly posted with 48 hours of advance notice, and we have a quorum of 4 of our 7+1 members. So this meeting can begin. Thank you, everybody, for joining. The other 3 I know would like to be here but had conflicts, and we decided to just continue on. And this may be a very efficient meeting, but it sort of depends on where we come out on things. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes, which I did not send out. I'm just realizing right now.
I was wondering what happened. I tend to lose emails, so I thought maybe it was my fault, but
No, in fact, I literally just realized I did not circulate them for approval. So we will skip past that. Sorry about that. Probably better anyway. I'm not sure everybody, probably better for us to do it at the next meeting anyway. Did we circulate, Julia, subcommittee meeting minutes?
Yeah, the subcommittee meeting minutes for the EV charging stations that occurred back in October was circulated.
Yep. And who was on that committee? Are the members of this session enough to approve it or no?
It was Dorian and
Yep,
Tom Daly
Tom.
and yeah, I think it was just
All right, then we can actually go through that. So if you could take a look at what Julia circulated. When did that go out, Julia?
I think it was at the end of last week, maybe, or the beginning of this week.
Okay,
Let's see.
So it's going to be Tom and Doran.
Yeah, the email, bear with me 1 second. Got a timestamp on this. Monday, midday is when you sent it.
Yep.
Julia.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can move to approve these. I'm fine with them.
I don't see there was no attachment with the minutes, so I can't even read it.
It's a separate email.
Oh, it's a separate. Well, I see the email from Julia saying, "Oh, please disregard the bylaw meeting minutes." Oh, that's the zoning bylaw. No, I'm sorry. I guess I lost that email.
There were two sets of minutes attached to the email and one we were asked to ignore.
Ah, okay. I got to go on mute for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
Steve, were you a part of that meeting?
No.
Then you can't vote on it. So we have a motion to approve from Doran. Tom, do you second the motion?
I second.
All right. Is there any discussion? All right. Hearing none. Thank you, Julia, for getting this done. Hearing none. There were 2 people who can vote to approve these meeting minutes. So please state your name and how you vote to approve the meeting minutes.
Doran Hole, aye.
Tom Daly, aye.
Perfect. The meeting minutes are approved unanimously. We can now post these. And Julia, what's outstanding? Thank you guys for doing this meeting. What's outstanding for last year?
It's just the May zoning bylaw committee. I had drafted the June zoning bylaw committee on accident. And then Martha brought that to my attention. So that was my error. So I will, for next meeting, have the May minutes ready.
Great. I'm thinking this is how we get the last meeting of the subcommittees approved, is apparently through the Alternative Energy Committee. Okay, so perfect. So we'll move forward, and then that will be the last outstanding meeting minutes, and we'll have check marks next to each of our meetings for 2024. We have posted the February, January, February, March, January, February meeting minutes for the Alternative Energy Committee. And next meeting, we'll vote to approve March and April and get those caught up. All right, Q1 letter to the select board. So this is in a draft version. It's basically based on what this committee suggested we indicate to the select board we want to focus on, with heavy emphasis on the climate action plan and the components that are required to become a climate leader. So that will sort of give them notice. And I have been told by members of the select board, as well as Chris Senior, the town manager, that once the annual meeting is done and the budget has been gone through and approved, we will be on the agenda. So we will be, whoops. Everybody there? Shit. Okay, good. So we'll be able to do an in-person presentation.
Tanya, do we need a briefing on the specialized stretch code since it's been modified a little bit?
How much has it been modified?
Before you present to the select board, or does that matter at this stage?
Yeah, no, I think we do need a briefing so that we can present to them. You know, what I might want is to have representatives from each of the component parts just quickly talk about what's required from the town. And Steve, you could present on, we would do a joint meeting so that we don't run into problems with quorum. And you could
Okay,
give
well,
an update.
if you want me to talk about the specialized code, I can do that. It'll only take about 5 minutes, and I'll make sure I get the details right. I'll talk to Lisa Cunningham or somebody at zerocarbonma.org or whoever, and make sure that I understand the details. It's a little confusing to me at the moment because of the changes.
Okay, so why don't you get up to speed on that? Give us an update to the committee. We'll meet
Okay.
next month in advance of the meeting to the select board. And then once you give that update to the committee, we'll be prepared to talk to the select board about the Climate Leaders Program and what the component parts are and what we're recommending on how to pursue it. And then Steve, you can give, I don't think we'll have 5 minutes each because that'd be 25 minutes, but just a, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
summary.
I'll do it in 2 minutes.
Perfect. I feel like we're name that tune. I can do it in one. I can do it with one word.
Okay, I'll let you do it then.
No, I'm joking. I can't do it in
No,
1,
that's
2, or even
funny.
10 minutes. So if you can do it, we'll have like 2 minutes each to do a 10-minute overview of why we want to pursue what we want to pursue based on the Q1 letter to the select board. We'll approve that. I will send that out based on what this group has already indicated we want our priorities to be. Okay, police fire department, the 135 King Street update and memo review, which I have not drafted, but maybe we can talk about that right now as we recap for the committee what we learned. Tom, do you want to take the lead on this?
I can. Give me a second to get my notes here.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I think everybody knows what the building, I gotta find this email. I think everybody knows what the building looks like. It's the 12,000 square foot building that exists, and they're gonna put a wing on either side. One side for the police department and the other side for the part of the fire department that's in residence. Just bear with me. I'm looking for that email that I sent you,
Mm-hmm.
Tanya.
Take your time.
Okay.
I guess, Julia, have you heard anything back related to the meeting or interest in what we suggested?
So in regards to clean energy on the property, I met virtually with architect as well as National Grid and Leidos. And Debbie was on that too. And they proposed a MOU to be signed for the National Grid incentives so that they can move forward with the architect. So that is needing to be signed by either Michelle or Chris. I'm working on getting it to them.
Sorry, it's an MOU or an addendum to our MOU
It's another MOU.
between the town and National Grid?
It's the actual document, I think, is Mass Save, but let me just double check.
Yeah, I think it is too.
And that's specific to the building and specific to energy efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just pulling it up now.
Mhm.
It's an interesting site. It's gonna have a wet basement.
Because of the runoff?
Oh yeah, sitting halfway down the hill, like that's just an invitation for water.
Well, it would be the first time the police department has had a wet basement with water running right next to the backup generator.
That's why you always raise them.
But they're not talking about doing that, right?
What, raising the generator up? Oh, it'll be set up.
Oh,
I'm
oh.
sure. Yeah, it'll be up above. They'll
Mhm.
raise it a foot or two. You want me to read off the 6 things while Julia looks?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
So I had 6 things that the big things we talked about: the solar array and structural soundness of the existing buildings, and whether or not the existing building could support a structural array. I mean, a solar array, and whether or not and the fact that the 2 wing buildings could, and it is facing. I would say that the direction of the roof is west southwest, so it's not a bad direction for the rear of the building to be facing to put a solar array up.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
We talked about diesel versus natural gas generator. And I think it was the chief mentioned the fact that you have to have an independent source of energy. So they're going with the diesel emergency generator.
Mhm.
I brought up the use of hybrid hot water heater, and I can't remember. I didn't make a note of what their EUI was, but I thought it was up around, wasn't the building EUI up around 40, 42, or I just can't remember what that number was. The architect went over it really quickly. And I think the use of hybrid hot water heating has the potential to lower the building EUI
Okay.
a little bit, a couple of points. I don't know whether it's cost effective to do that.
An EUI, energy usage indicator?
Index, that's what I call it. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's, I mean, we used to like to try to get them down in the low 30s if we could, high 20s, low 30s, and they were talking around 40, which isn't bad because a lot of the older buildings are up around 70 and 80. So
Oh, wow.
it's not
Okay.
too bad. Yeah.
Tom, is there a connection between the EUI and the HERS rating?
I never played with the HERS rating, so I can't answer the question, Steve. I basically went with EUI. That was the standard. And it's easier for the architects to work toward an energy use index.
It's just that the building codes all refer to the HERS rating.
I know. And then you have to have that person that has the built-in spreadsheet that can convert.
Oh, okay.
We also talked about storage battery placement and feasibility on that site, and that is really a compact site. I don't know if it's feasible. I don't even know if that's a good location. It seems to me like it would be,
Mhm.
but that's going to be really tight for a 40-foot container, which is basically what those boxes are.
Are you talking about the proposal close to the Stop and Shop?
Yeah, it was
No,
similar to
no,
that.
no.
Another one of those.
Oh,
We're talking about the fire department.
Police department.
okay, right, that site.
Yeah,
At
let
this-
me
Since you
also,
mentioned it, is there, what's the story on the one near Stop and Shop?
Well, okay, Steve, can we focus on this for this section
Yeah,
first? And
sure.
then we'll make sure we can ask that question. HERS is the home energy rating system. So I think
Right.
that's applied to homes versus commercial
Yeah, with
buildings.
commercial buildings.
Oh, they don't use that, they don't apply that to
No.
commercial buildings? Okay.
Yeah,
Tom, can I quickly ask
Yeah.
battery, scoping the battery, there's probably more work that could be done because it feels to me like the size of that building just from a drive-by, right? And the size of a solar that might be there. I'm not sure that you need a 40-foot container size battery for that.
Yeah, well, you may not, and you don't, I mean, there's no way to know at this point what we need and what the roof is capable of holding and generating.
Well, in fact, the battery as a backup to be considered alongside the diesel generator is another, just backup power, because you may be able to use that battery to pull power from the grid to just have some additional capacity.
Exactly,
what the
that's,
diesel generator would be doing. But I'd be quite surprised if they needed, and so when you're thinking about footprint for that type of battery and just given the setbacks, I don't know how big the lot is.
it's,
It does
when they
not have
build
to
it out,
be-
it's gonna be pretty tiny.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that was my thought. I didn't even think they could get the small box on there.
It's very tight, but Doran, we were thinking there's 2 parking lots. So
Mhm.
the question was whether or not there's an ability to put the parking solar carports on the back
Right.
lot, which
On the
you can't
back.
see from
Mhm.
3A.
Yep.
And depending on how much you could put in, as long as, so it wouldn't necessarily be, it would be backup for the building, but it would also be able to, under normal conditions, inject into the grid, although that is
Yes,
part of the grid.
And I think just for possible incentives from, smart program, et cetera, I think it's definitely a good idea to keep it on the list. See what we can do to size it appropriately, find the right footprint. The only other thing about the carport on the back parking lot, I haven't looked at the building closely. We just have to take into consideration where the vehicles are gonna be coming in and out. Especially the fire trucks,
Correct.
because
And the
you're
other
gonna need
thing is,
clearances.
yeah, and it
the
also,
fire trucks is, go ahead, Tanya.
there's also the direction how you would set up
Yeah.
the carports. It's not, the parking lot configuration was not designed to be optimal to the sun. It was designed to be optimal for the space, which is very limited given that it's a middle of a hill. But go ahead, with respect to the fire trucks, Tom?
Yeah, they're gonna, well, first of all, they're gonna have to dig out a good portion of that hill to make any kind of parking behind the building feasible at all. I mean, that's gonna be a major excavation job back there.
Okay.
And it'll be mostly the police that use behind the building and under the carport. Because the fire department is gonna have a straight shot up the current driveway into
Straight
the
into the front.
currently
Yep.
non-existent wing of the building.
Got it.
So
That's,
they'll shoot straight in.
So that's
That's
not
why I
gonna
say
be
there's
the way.
very, very little parking area that's gonna be able to be eked out of that back, but there is some more land there, and
Mhm.
I'm not convinced they couldn't squeeze a little bit more in if they wanted to.
I'm with you, Tom.
You,
This
you
is
were
the-
there, you saw the drawing, you almost asked the question.
I did ask the question. What about that corner over there? What
That's
do you do with
exactly
that?
right.
I mean,
But we're
I
also building up onto the apartment complex. Right behind it.
yeah. I mean, I've
They
got
have
a
like a
visual. This
12-foot
could,
retaining wall of rock.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
really be a marquee place for us. I mean, this is, I can visualize it. This is exciting. I really think we should suggest anything and everything here,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
so on the solar sizing, the only thing about the battery, yes, on its own, it would be a secondary backup system
Mhm.
to the diesel generator, which best practices is have it be a standalone, not connected to any pipeline that could be disrupted or unavailable for the emergency
Right.
response. So the secondary backup could be very powerful, But in addition to that, if you can get more than half a megawatt, 500 kilowatts onto the carports and the roofs, you have to have a battery. But if we size it just below, you don't have a battery,
we
but
need to
then
get
the solar is different. So
we need to
anyway,
get
we
somebody
said,
that can size it.
that's right. So Select Energy is the aggregator for municipalities, or used to be the aggregator for municipalities. That might have changed. I now know I don't know if you know Tina Bennett, Doran. She used to be the president of NECA. I think she's now the new president of Select Energy.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to call her, find out what Select is up to. They used to be, we've worked with Select on a number of buildings. They come in and on their own dime
Mhm.
will scale out, scope out how much you can get on the roofs. So they did that for our library. They did that for the old police fire department. They did that for the water, the water department building. And if they're still doing it, or they can tell us who is doing it, what we said was we will very quickly get somebody to come in and tell us what that looks like. And the other benefit of that, and this is based on like one clause in the restructuring legislation that went useless for a very long period of time. Along with that, it's sort of like the community aggregation program. It's a tool for towns to be able to move forward with these types of investments outside of the normal 30B procurement process. So we can actually sole source directly to whoever that player is, because they've already bid it to the state to provide these services for all of the municipalities.
Got it.
Tanya, I may want to address that since you mentioned the CCA. I've come across some information that's very, very relevant, but I'll
Okay, well,
discuss
let's
that
do
later.
that. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. So I'll remember, Steve, for you, the CCA and the code. Okay, so that's a good summary.
We have two
Tom?
other items. Well, we talked about the covered parkway. We had level 3 versus level 2 charging stations out there too.
Mhm.
And interestingly, the police department will not be pursuing electric vehicles in the future, according to the chief. They just didn't
What?
pan out.
What?
They
What?
can't.
Why not?
He said they're good for parking meters and stuff like that for emergency
Oh, bullshit.
response.
Bullshit. My Tesla can
They are.
outrun any of their patrol cars. What's the
I don't
word?
think it's I think it's the fact that these vehicles are like 24/7. They're not.
He said
they
the
don't-
biggest problem is getting someone to repair them,
Yeah.
I've
getting
had
getting
my
the repairs
Tesla for
done
3
in a
years.
timely
It's
manner.
never been in the shop.
So
Okay,
apparently,
all right.
apparently the police cars and the electric bus are not having that same stellar maintenance experience.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
That's because they're made in this country.
So Tom, who would be the user of the chargers then?
Visitors,
Yeah, visitor.
emergency charging for people who are in town. Electric vehicles that have to be towed or whatever. I don't know.
And I actually am wondering if the police department was trying to survive with a level 2 charger when they would have been much better off with a level 3. I don't know what the history is there.
So I don't even think they have. I'm trying to think if we ever put level 2 chargers behind. It might have been they were working off of level 1, which is not going to be
Oh,
useful
no, that'd be impossible.
for that usage. So we told them that National Grid was doing level 3 chargers, and we might be able to get them the grants to be able to do the upgrade. We also emphasized to them that the level 2, I think they're required by law, Massachusetts law, to have a certain number of parking spots with charging stations.
Right.
So this was
30%,
really
isn't it?
motivation.
Was it 30%?
I
It
don't
was a
know.
lot. I was really shocked at how many it was. Maybe it's 10%. Maybe it was 10. I can't
I
remember.
think it was more like 10%, and it
Yeah.
came out to like 6 to 8. They were thinking of having 6 level 2 chargers with the dedicated parking spots per law. We recommended that they think about level 3, and we would try to get them the money to do that with the upgrade. And that part of that was the National Grid MOU.
Right.
And National Grid has, I think, a program. I don't know where it stands, but they've had money in a program for, as part of their grid modernization plan, they had money for installing charging stations at, level 3 charging stations for the state. So we told them that we would get them connected. This is what Julie was talking about, which is they learned that you have to have another MOU with National Grid in the town to then have the discussions about the energy efficiency, but also in that would be the charging stations.
I'm concerned that if the police department is dead set against electric vehicles, that we wouldn't qualify for climate communities.
It's we'd still qualify, Steve, because if we've already done the demonstration project and we can identify the reasons why it's not feasible or practicable to do electric
We-
vehicles.
What we have to do is just work with them.
Mm.
We can convince them.
Mhm.
I suspect they did not have a level 3 charger, and that makes all the difference in the world. And the repairs, the whole repair issue, I don't know how to approach that, but I think if they had a level 3 charger and they could get a decent charge quickly on their vehicles, I think it'd work. It would go a long way to making their problem go away.
Also, does their fleet have other vehicles that are not cruisers? You know what I mean? That could be
I think
electric.
they're an all or none. I think all their vehicles are cruise. They have some pickup trucks that they use as
That's true.
cruisers.
They have some pickup trucks that are
Yeah.
also cruisers. Okay.
So
you
sorry,
got one more thing, Tom, I think, right?
let me
Well, no,
just,
we
sorry.
just covered.
Massachusetts law requires new commercial construction with over 15 parking spaces to have at least one EV-ready parking space. And the Mass Electric Vehicle Incentive Program provides grants for those EV chargers in eligible workplaces and fleets.
That's
And there might be others for municipalities. But I'm
and
sure
Tom,
those are
with you,
level 2.
I'd strongly recommend we be talking about level 3 with them,
Yeah, the Mass EVIP is grants for 60% of the cost of level 1 or level 2 chargers, up to $50,000 per street address. So I think they were planning on $50,000 that basically gets their 60% of their 8 chargers, and that they would max out at the $50,000 grant. But that's only for the level 2, and that's why we've connected them in part with National Grid to see if National Grid can up it to a level 3. The other thing that's interesting is at the end of the day, we get the level 3 charger from the bus. So regardless of what happens to the bus, we could always move that as well. But for now, it's being used for the bus.
Yeah, my main concern was to make sure they brought enough power in to support all that activity.
Yep. I mean, this is another reason to talk to National Grid. I know for a fact that part of the system, it's basically a stub feeder line that runs off of the main feeder line, which is already very weak. And that's why the northern part of our town system tends to be the last ones to get up and running. And that very weak part of the system is right where they're planning on putting the police fire station. So hopefully the conversations with National Grid will result in a socialized upgrade to that part of the Cohasset system.
That's great.
So again, I think the National Grid is about the level 3, the efficiency, and the upgrades.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. So go ahead, Tom. Was there anything the
That's it.
last one?
No, the other one was the covered parking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So based on that, our action item, which on me, I did not do, but now with the summary, I can just whip it out, ideally tonight, is to basically make the list of our recommendation and action items. and how we can proceed, and just to lay it out for them. And they're very open. They were very open to working with us, very open to the suggestions. At the end of the day, it is going to come down to the economics and timing. They are on a very tight schedule to get this done. The heating system they decided to go with is a heat pump system. So they had basically option 1, 2, and 3, where 1 is just, business as usual. 2 would be to have a electric heat pump system. And then the third was geothermal. And the third geothermal had like a 40-year payback. So they decided to go with the electric heat pumps, which had like a 4-year payback, Tom, is what I'm remembering.
Yes, yeah. The option 3 had a 40-year payback.
It's a lot of
Well, that's the
drilling. It's a
non-payback.
lot of drilling and a lot of work to do geothermal.
Oh, yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the board had already decided to pursue the electric heat pumps, and so they're looking to do that. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Julia, was there anything else you wanted to add based on the follow-up that you've already been doing?
Yeah, I can just read like a brief description of this MOU, and then I can share screen and just slide through. So this it seems they're proposing a path 3 memorandum of understanding. It's a non-binding agreement between the customer, Town of Cohasset, and National Grid that enrolls the project into the Mass Save New Construction Major Renovation Program. Once they have the signed MOU, they'll be able to get someone assigned to review the project's 100% construction document set. And the architect has already signed it. I just need to coordinate review with Michelle and probably Nick Berardi, the facilities director, so that they're aware and approve. But if I share my screen, I can just show you what the document looks like. Are you able to see?
Yep.
Okay. So it just talks about the eligibility and requirements for electrification. And then it's already signed by the architect, which is HKT Architects down at the bottom. So I'm gonna talk to Michelle and Nick and hopefully get a decision from them.
That'd be great. Can you go to this section? What is the EUI target? Footnote 2 or endnote 2? No, there we go. Oh, it doesn't say. Okay, if you could go back up, what are the benefits of the MOU? Okay, keep going down. Keep going. Okay. Okay, there we go. Energy analysis. So it's technical and incentives.
Yeah, I think in their email, they said due to the size of the building, it doesn't require technical assistance.
Okay.
I don't recall.
So what is it that the MOU provides to the town?
I think it's the National Grid incentives.
I see. Which don't we already have under the existing?
I think so. I also just need to clarify that for myself, and then talk to Michelle and Nick.
Okay.
But this is what they're proposing.
Okay, great. Perfect. Okay. Anything else on the police fire department or questions? All right, Tom and I will finish the draft. We'll send it to you, Julia, and it might be set up as a matrix where we have sort of what the topic is, what the discussion, what the recommendation or discussion options are, and then who would be responsible for taking the lead on the next steps. Okay, great. Thank you, Tom. It was great having you on that call. Okay, marketing. It's a quick debrief. On March 23rd, we had a table. We, the Alternative Energy Committee, had a table. As always, Debbie Cook did an amazing job putting together a board, sharing information on what we've been doing, talking about all of the value we've brought to the town. She had a Penny for the Planet flyer for people to consider. And we sat there and we talked to folks. And then Steve came in about halfway through. And Steve, did anything happen after I left?
Well, I had some interesting conversations, but no, you covered it pretty well.
Okay, good. But I think it was great we were there.
Yep.
Oh,
we had a really good position this time. It was right by the entrance, just around the corner from the entrance, which I think got more traffic than where we were last year.
Yes. Yes. It was really good. And again, Debbie did an excellent job on that. We had the pinwheels. Kids love the pinwheels. Debbie had chocolate. Kids and adults love the chocolate. So we definitely had people stopping by and looking and talking to us. Cohasset Earth Day is on May 3rd. It's the trash day and celebration of Earth Day. We have talked about not having an EV parade because of the politics that have been discussed in prior meetings. But I spoke to Debbie 2 days ago, and we're already sort of going down this path. Traditionally, we've had one of the Teslas there with the front open, and people could look at it and the kids could drive in it. And Debbie was always really good about letting people, take a look at the car. What we're thinking now is for May 3rd, we have examples of different types of electric vehicles. So I have a Lexus EV. I'm reaching out to Corey Evans about having his Rivian highlighted there. I think having a Tesla is still appropriate. So Debbie, of course, has offered up her Tesla. And I guess the question is, are there any other people we know who have a different type of EV that we can encourage to come and park near the place where this is going to be happening? So it's going to be more of a highlight of all of the options that are available.
Would we possibly want to invite an auto dealer come and display his electric vehicle offerings?
Yeah, that'd be great. Does anybody know an auto dealer who has an electric vehicle offering?
I don't, but I want to learn. I've been going to all these Tesla takedown rallies, driving my Tesla to the rallies. So I feel a little ill at ease about that.
Right. Well, let's do this. Let's if anybody knows somebody who has an EV or knows a dealer who's doing the EVs, and I can, reach out, or Steve, if you want to talk to some dealers just to see. Normally the dealers aren't going to be interested for this type of event, but you never know. You never know. But even if we only have 3 cars, just to show that EVs are not, stories of their demise are greatly exaggerated.
Yeah. I think that'd be worthwhile, even with just 3.
Yeah. I think so too. And I mean, I'll tell you, I love my little EV. And I love that I haven't had to stop and get gas for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I have been making great use of the town parking lot, Steve. I am showing up in the numbers because my charger had a short, it seemed, and wasn't charging my car. So
Oh, no.
You're talking about the chargers at town hall, so they're fixed now?
no, I'm talking about the chargers 1 block away from my house on the other side of the Red Line Inn.
Oh,
town
okay,
parking lot.
those. Yeah.
So it's very incredibly convenient. We put those in
Mhm.
before I ever had an EV. I had no idea I'd be using them, and it's quite convenient.
I like
Okay.
50 miles to the gallon on my hybrid.
The hybrids are very nice as well. And I don't know about the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles versus just the hybrid. I mean, a lot of the hybrids now have a knob, right? That you just switch between electric.
Hmm.
And I think they might, do you have that, Tom? Or is it just a,
No, mine around town, I pretty much stay in electric mode around town. I
okay.
get 50 to 60 miles an hour, a gallon driving around town, which is just fine.
Yep. Yep. That's great.
And I carry my charger under the hood.
Really? So is
Well,
it a
yeah, it's the
plug-in
other
hybrid?
engine. There's two
Ah.
engines under the hood.
Right, right,
Tom,
right.
I'm
That's right.
sorry, what kind of car is it?
It's a Hyundai
Hyundai?
Santa Fe. It's an SUV with,
Now,
with a
can you,
700-mile cruising range. Huh?
Yeah, I don't want to get on a discussion here, take up too much time, but
Well, why don't you guys take it offline and think about, and Steve, if you go to a Hyundai dealership, maybe you can ask them whether they'd be interested. And maybe we also highlight the hybrids. I don't think we have to be pure EVists. The hybrids are
or at least the
definitely-
plug-in types like,
Yeah, the plug-ins are pretty cool.
All right. So anyway, if anybody thinks of somebody who might want to highlight their car, let us know. But we've got a handful already. Okay. Last is the Stroll. So I don't know if anybody's taken a look at the Stroll magazine that just came out the other day.
yes.
What do you think,
Love the
Steve?
article. Great.
Yeah. So two things. One, the first article in the last issue in March, that was written by Barbara Russell, and it started with talking about, it was really an intersection of sustainability and renewable energy and efficiency, and the reason why we should do a climate action plan. So it was basically making the case for a climate action plan, but started with talking about the harbor, sea level rise, all of that. As a result, the Sustainability Committee asked Barbara to come and speak to them. And I listened in on that. She did a fantastic job talking about what we're doing, why the climate action plan is needed for them to be able to get money, because by having a climate action plan, you show that you're being proactive. And they were all in. So we've got the support of the sustainability or the Sustainable Harbor, whichever committee it is, but basically the one that's focused on the harbor. We have their support 100% on climate action plan, because they do realize if we have a climate action plan, they'll be able to get resources and grants that much easier, because it's sending a message that the town is taking proactive measures, not just defensive measures. So they were all in, and they're very excited to be able to work with our committee. So it's just a question of finding ways to integrate our objectives and look at grants that are available. And Debbie or Barbara is taking the lead on that relationship. So it was a very positive outcome. The last issue, which just came out April, includes 2 articles. One celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Alternative Energy Committee.
Oh.
We'll have to have virtual cupcakes next meeting, or maybe we'll have cupcakes. Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll have cupcakes that have a 20 on them for the trash day, or maybe cookies that have 20. I'll think about that. I do a mean sugar cookie. Okay, so maybe we'll have something for people to enjoy celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Alternative Energy Committee. So the first article was just sort of a litany, my normal stump speech about what we've been doing, the value we've been bringing to the town. The second, very much in Debbie's voice. It's so cute. When I reread it, I could hear her voice. The one in Debbie's voice is talking about the education program that we put on and what the education program entailed, and gave a webpage for people to go to if they wanted to check it out. So 2 articles, and Melissa Shore is very interested, if she has space, in publishing other things that we can present to her. So there are, do we want to just quickly identify some topics that we think would be useful going forward? I think one, when we hit the $500,000 mark, which is going to happen, I think, next month, we should have an article identifying or describing our solar energy array and the money that it's been saving the town. The problem is June is always busy with graduation, so it might have to wait till July. The July issue. So we may not be able to get into May or June. Those tend to be very busy issues, but we definitely can send it to her, and we can have the celebrate the $500,000 mark. Maybe we call it 500,000 reasons to go solar or something like that. But are there other topics you think we should highlight? And this would be in the second half of 2025. Because, Tom, if we make progress, we could do something on the police fire station with their blessing. So I think these are just things to think about as you champion your issues. Know that Stroll Magazine, and we also, I was at an event that had, actually it was the rec fair, that one of the journalists from the Anchor thought that we should send stuff her way as well. So anything that you are doing, that you're championing, that you're taking the lead on, just know we have the Stroll Magazine and we have the Anchor at our disposal to provide earned media and marketing to the town. And people are reading it.
A question for you, Tanya. Are these articles copyrighted or what? Can we use the same article for the Anchor that we used for Stroll or not?
Well, no, not because they're copyrighted, but the Anchor doesn't want to just regurgitate something that Stroll Magazine publishes.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
But, we definitely can. She likes to do it more as an interview. So if she sees a topic in the Stroll Magazine and she's interested in that, or if we send her some topics, she likes to sort of talk to us, learn more about it, and then we can send her quotes. She likes to do it more as an investigative journalist type of article. Or she'll take our press release, right? We've done press releases before through the town. She would take like a press release like summary, and then she would turn that into an article. So AP Newsfeed, the town I think has done AP Newsfeed before. When the bus, we use that for the electric bus. So when the electric bus was approved, we put out a press release, had quotes from Alternative Energy Committee, the town, and the schools, and the Anchor took that and ran with it. It was almost verbatim, right? As this is the whole point of press releases. And so they were able to take that. So anyway, my point is, as you're taking the lead on your topics, let's make sure we also market them and let the town know what's happening. All right. Okay. Town staff report. Julia, finally.
All right. So no major updates this month. The National Grid municipal electric and gas usage data, I'm still working on seeing if we have a dashboard. It was confirmed that the finance department doesn't have this data readily available, and as well as the accounting department. So this is something that I'll probably ask Michelle to see if she has like access to an online portal. And then if not, then I'll talk to National Grid directly and just see if they have that or offer that. But that's next steps for that bullet. Does anyone have any questions on that?
No.
Okay. The National Grid vehicle inventory, I don't know if there's been any updates for that. The documents were recirculated after the previous meeting, so they were sent out on March 20th to all the AEC members. That was including the vehicle inventory that was pulled from Mass Energy Insight portal, which included the most recent Green Communities annual report data, as well as the Green Communities versus the Climate Leader vehicle policies document. So I don't have any updates on that. Is there anything that has changed on that front?
No.
Okay. Once I talk to Nick, I'll see where they're at with the HVAC design for the town hall, because that'll be the next Green Communities round, which will be the fall. So I'll just get a status on that.
Okay.
And then
What's the status of our last submission, or did we delay? Did we
so
miss-
we can only apply for one per year. So we're gonna apply for the fall. And then also I sent out to everyone, and I think I got a few responses back. So Lisa confirmed with Cohasset's stance on the Green Communities $1 Million Club. We are still qualifying for the $200,000 in funding until after, I'm sorry, following the fall if we are awarded, pending we are awarded.
Sorry,
That
say that again. So if we're awarded in the fall, we still have another $200,000 to go after?
No, so we would reach the $1 million mark pending fall approval. Because the first grant that was listed was a designation grant, and that
Mhm.
did not count in the calculation. So after the fall 2025 round, assuming we apply and are awarded, the town will then be over the $1 million threshold.
Okay, and what does that mean again?
So if we apply for the 2025 Green Communities round for the fall, we can be awarded up to 200,000. And then following that award, our funding would bump down to, I think it's 100,000. So we could still qualify for Green Communities funding in the future, but the award will reduce.
Okay, so it would be at a lower level, like $100,000. How much does it reduce by?
Yeah, I think it's 50%. So it would be bumped down to 100,000.
Okay. So that's another reason to go for the Climate Leaders Program.
Mm-hmm. And then regarding grants, this is something I can gather information for the next meeting.
Let me tell you, because I put this on here, not to sideswipe you, but I think that, we've been very good about following up with Green Communities. But on a broader scale, I think understanding what grants are available and when we're getting a lot of notices from Mass CEC that says, hey, just so you know, in 3 days is the deadline for this grant. And I think if we just every meeting had a matrix that you put together of what grants are available, what the due date is, who they're targeting, and why, a recommendation on whether we should or should not pursue it and why, that can just allow us to be more proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That I can certainly work on. Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, any questions for Julia? All right, so I think, Julia, by next meeting, you should have usage data either from Michelle or National Grid.
I'm hoping that Michelle has some type of access or like a portal dashboard. I feel like National Grid definitely should have that. So,
Well, so National Grid's large users have access to their detailed data by account and by building. And we have accessed that before. Michelle's been able to get that before. But I will tell you, it's always a scramble to try to get it. Like, in my mind, a needless scramble. So instead of putting us through the scramble, I'm just trying to allow us to be more proactive and actually have it in hand and know how to get it and have a version. It ages very quickly, as you can imagine. But, at least level set, get an update of data, which I haven't seen data since 2020. And that allows us, the first question anybody asks us is, what's your electricity usage for this building? And if we don't have that information, we don't have it. The first thing that we need if we're doing a climate action plan and understanding our carbon emissions is what's the electricity and natural gas usage for the town buildings. So this is a linchpin to a lot of the things that we're trying to do. And instead of waiting for some deadline, I just want us to be able to have it and know how to get it quickly. So Amanda should be able to help us, but Michelle has had access to it in the past. I just don't know who has had it, and they don't give that out to members of the committee. It's like staff has that access. And I believe accounting or somebody in the Treasury Department does have it. They just don't know they have it, and they don't care because there's no need for them. They don't feel a need to have that detail. So does it make sense why we're trying to do this?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll double check with Michelle.
Perfect. She has been able to get it before, and so she'll probably have the answer, but it may be you have to go talk to somebody at National Grid because, she may not have the time or the credentials anymore to be able to access it.
Okay.
And it'd be great, I hate to say, if you did, just because you're that much closer as our liaison to us.
Yeah, I'll check with Amanda.
Perfect. Okay, electric school bus status, operations and lease. So this is in the hands of the town and the school committee at this point, but the school committee, my understanding is, wants to keep the bus, and they just want to make sure that it's operational. And sometimes what's been happening is you can plug it in and it won't charge, and it seems to be the battery. So this is just an example of a vehicle that would be great if it were useful and flawless, but of course it's not. And so every time the school has to call Enel and try to figure out why it's not charging, they get frustrated. And Enel, right, who's now past this program and is not making any money off of it, every time they get the call from us, they get frustrated. So there's a conversation that's happening on what we do about the demonstration program, what we do about the school bus, and what we do about the level 3 charger. But it's positive in my mind because I think the schools want to keep the bus, but of course they want it to be operational as well.
Yeah, that's discouraging. Do you have any insight into what the charging problems are, or what are they, what's,
It's a computer, right? I mean, these are computers on wheels. And so just like your computer, sometimes you have to reboot it, but there's no manual on how do you reboot it. And even if there is, it's, this is one bus of the fleet. So it's not like we have an ongoing expert in electric buses who can figure out what the problem is. So it's Ray calling Enel to try to figure out how to troubleshoot it. Enel trying to do their job and walk us through the reboot program process, and then it works or it doesn't work. I think at the end of the day, these are computers on wheels and they're glitchy. The EV charging station's glitchy. The electric school bus battery is glitchy. The charging interconnection is glitchy. Like, it's just, this is the frustration the town is having on the electric vehicles. They're just not, I don't want to say they're not ready for prime time. We are doing a demonstration project. It's called a demonstration project for a reason. And we are demonstrating the frustrations of a new technology right now. But they still want the bus, but they want a working bus because they need the bus, right? They need that extra bus. So that's where that is. Okay. Data report for the solar energy array. I'm going to have to pull that up. Unless, Julia, do you have that on your inbox?
Hi there. Just
oh, we
arrived.
got our data guy here.
Oh my God, you are so on time. And
Yeah.
we are like at you.
I know. I was watching from the stage for a little bit here. I'm sorry. I just got here. I have just signed on.
No problem.
So,
Perfect timing, Chris.
well, so I need a moment to sort of sign on to ChargePoint if you want to talk about something else.
Yes, I can talk about the solar energy array. Hold on. All right, let me increase this and I will share with you. Share screen. So I'll do the solar energy report.
Oh, you have the data there?
I have the solar energy report. If you could focus on the,
Yeah, I have that up.
all right, let me, for some reason, my Zoom window is now completely shrunk.
Do you want me to see if I can share the? Sorry, never mind. Can I share?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. I looked at this a couple days ago. I'm sorry. So interesting, unique drivers. Sort of, it looks like pretty much constant from month to month. A slight uptick from January. Sessions. 243 in March, 220 in February, down a little bit from the end of last year. And energy, I get you guys out of the way. Sort of similar down. So it looks like the February, March usage is subdued a little bit. And then you would look over here and the session fees are down as well. So it looks like things are just sort of depressed a little bit in the winter. I don't haven't pulled up the sort of multi-year trend, so I don't know if that's consistent with past years.
Do we have access to the historical data?
Yep, I'm trying to get that right now.
Okay. And are we keeping it? Because I think after, say, 2 years, it goes away.
No, I'm not having separate. I will do that. Oh. Lifetime. I do have a lifetime. Oh, that's this. Oh. Oh. Are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's,
It's like the stock market.
yeah.
Before last week.
Yeah.
So here's just the number of sessions for the last year from January of this year. Hold on, is this,
Are these weekly or daily?
hold on a sec. Yeah. There we go. Sessions. Yes, I don't know the answer to that simple question. So it looks like, I mean, it looks like these are daily sessions.
Mhm.
Session, yes, this is daily session. Yep, so the top day for whatever it was Friday, December 13th. There were 23 sessions. And the least was 3 sessions on November 28th. So let's see, do we see any trends here? It sort of looks like I've already sort of just eyeball it. The average, although it varies quite a bit, it looks like the average is pretty constant over the course of time. Maybe there's a few less big days this year to the right-hand side of the screen. But it looks like it's pretty constant over time.
Yeah. So remember, not too long ago, we added a new charge per our recommendation. The town added a new charge for anybody who is charging more than 5 hours in addition to the energy price, the energy cost. There's a $5 an hour parking fee or idling fee
Yeah, if they remain hooked up.
if they remain hooked up. And so I'll tell you, to fill up half of your tank or half of your battery, it costs $5.50. And that's for about 110 miles, depending. I mean, these are just running off of my numbers. And if it's basically $5.50 to go 100 miles. So that is the bargain. As soon as you are just sitting there more than 5 hours, and you could just, walk over and change over to another port, I think. But if you're still sitting there, you're going to start getting charged $5 an hour. And I think one example is somebody stayed overnight and ended up with an $85 electric charging bill. So we definitely are motivating people to not just sit in the spot for more than 5 hours. And I think we might be seeing that on the bit of a downtick that you
On the
see
last
to
couple
the
months.
right. Yeah.
Oh. Or the
And of
downtick.
course, you get a message from your app, but a lot of people just ignore it because they don't know what it's saying. And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever. I know I'm charging. And what they don't realize is they're charging at $5 an hour plus the 22 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, that's useful. Any questions to Chris? All right.
Right.
Good stuff.
I'll stop sharing here. Let's see, how do I do that?
Great. Chris, will you screenshot that and send it to?
Yeah, I've already sent it to you and
Okay,
Martha.
perfect. Great.
Um,
Including that nice chart you just did?
Oh, I didn't know that nice chart. I did not. I'll screenshot that.
Okay, good.
Okay. So,
Okay, could you also pull up the solar? I am having trouble with my Zoom
yeah,
sharing screen.
let me see. Am I sharing anymore or no?
Yes, you have to stop sharing and then pull up the
Yeah.
next.
How do I stop sharing
So up at the top, you are viewing Chris Olufsen's screen.
oh, there we go. Yeah, got it. Thank you very much. Okay, there we go. Okay. Let me find the solar array. Here we go. Hold on a sec. See attached. Yeah, the solar array is really sort of sucking wind here a little bit. Open an Acrobat. Okay, hold on. There, boom. Okay, can you see that?
Make it bigger.
I'm trying to make it, how's that? Is that better? You, that's bigger from my perspective. Is it bigger from you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, yeah, January, February, take a look at this. I don't, I don't have it by month for the previous years, but I think, just taking a look at the total net metering credits for the year, I think despite January, February being sort of low solar months, I think the converter issue is really impacting it.
You know what I'm going to do? Let me just pull up quickly. I have the one through March, just so we know. It's $496,000, $496,699. We are so close to $500,000. I can taste it.
You have the one through March? How'd you get that one?
I got that.
Yeah, I got to look at that same email here. What is going on here? What is through
Through March 25th. You sent it to me.
I wonder why I don't have that. Okay, great. So you have that?
So you do too. You sent it to me. So it's from an email you sent on
From Scott Kaplan.
April 7th, and you sent it to Martha on April 8th.
Got it. Okay, hold on a sec. Yep. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Can you see that through March now? Okay. Here we go. Right. So I think it looks like maybe in April we will go over the $500,000 mark.
Yeah.
Possibly. What's the situation with the inverters?
Inverters. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
Are they replacing them or something?
Hold on.
Yes. They're trying to. They've had trouble. There's been basically 4 years of finger pointing between the inverter company, Palmer Capital, National Grid. Nobody's taking the blame, or nobody's saying it's a problem. The inverter company, I think, I think the inverters need to be replaced. They're not willing to replace them. Palmer Capital is out of pocket paying money to get new inverters,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a sizable amount. So we're very lucky we have a good partner
Yep.
on that.
Do you see this email I have in front of?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I take this as Scott thinks that it's moving along. So April 15th, that's in 5 days.
What
Wait,
happens
NatGrid has to do a study on the inverter replacement.
I'm confused. Have the inverters been replaced recently or not? Or are they-
No.
No.
So what's that mean? I should hear back around April 15th. About what? A study or?
Yeah, National Grid, as I understand it, needs to review the plan. And we're going to hear back in a few days as to whether it's moving on to the next. Here, I guess here's the process right here, screening. So we have a bit to go, but I guess
So National Grid has to improve a plan or swapping of certain inverters?
Yes, because it's a
Yes.
new type of equipment. It's a new brand. It's a new inverter.
Uh,
Are they
Okay.
switching? Oh, okay, so they're switching brands. How many inverters do you know?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Anyway, the good news is everybody's working together.
Yeah.
Palmer Capital's reaching into its pocket for a project that was done for the community at very low margins to pay for the converter. We owe a round of applause and thanks to Palmer Capital for being such a great partner. And they are working with National Grid to be able to make it happen. And at this point, the old inverter company may be out of the picture, I believe.
Out of interest, do you know who they are? Which brand?
I
And
do
which
not. And
one-
I don't know if I would
which
say
one
who it
is?
is,
Right.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for comparison, can you pull up your numbers again, Chris? And I'll read you off what we did in 2024, January, February, March.
We're talking about the
Net benefits, solar energy array net benefits. So you
Yeah.
have to close and then reopen.
oh, do you not see this?
No, you have to close. Right now, what we're still seeing is the memo.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Share. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to read off the numbers on production and net benefit to the town. So in January 2024, the solar energy array produced 12,592 kilowatt hours. 12,592. So about 75%.
Oh, interesting.
In February, it produced 25,419. So now again, there's difference in solar and sun, but consistently, it's been consistently lower. So in March 2024, 29,033.
So the inverters were bad back then too, right? I mean, so we're comparing the 2 periods of bad inverters.
They've always been bad.
Yeah, but you take a look at up in 2020, it looks like, or 2019, something significantly different there versus 2024. That's not clouds. Wouldn't think.
Well, the panels were more efficient. So the panels lose efficiency over time as well.
Yeah, but not that much, right? I mean, it's like a a year or something.
They're definitely not from 614 to 350.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
That's the inverter failures for sure. But the degradation, they typically model 0.5% per year, depending on the modules. You can do better or worse than that, but it is not unusual for 1% per year degradation after the first year. The first year actually usually has a greater amount, like about 2%.
but on the other hand, and again, it boy, those the price matters. The amount we saved in January 2024 was 2343. February was 4741, and then 5746. So we're sort of at a, we're still losing money off of that. January wasn't that different. I don't know how much further back I could go.
Net metering credit rates must have been higher now than they were then.
Yeah, most certainly the net metering credits matter on
Mhm.
the dollar value of savings,
Yeah.
along with the quantity. Okay, I can go back. No, can I go back? I don't know if we had regular. Okay, I can tell you, you know what? Let's look at 2000. I can tell you 2017, no, 2018.
Well, that'd be good.
Okay. So 2018 January production was 30,712.
Uh-huh.
It's about half.
34,000. Yeah. February 18th was 34,852.
Exactly half.
And March was 41,931. And this was when it was brand spanking new, because it started up in September 2017. And yeah, the dollar savings, it was about, so 4,532, 6,704, 6,704. Sorry. January was 3,318. February was $3,767. And March 2018 was 4,532. The price at that point, the net metering credit, was around 19.6 cents per kilowatt hour versus this higher net metering credit. So we are losing. I mean, we're coming in at what we anticipated on average, around 55,000. We have checked the production against their guarantee, and they are still above the guarantee, which is good.
Above the guarantee, even with the inverter problem?
Yep.
Really? Well, that's
The guarantee was like it ratchets down over time, but it also gave them a lot of breathing room.
Yeah.
I would assume it's probably 80% or something like that, maybe lower.
So, but we're losing money. Like we could have twice the savings. So thankfully they are moving forward with getting it fixed, but
Yeah. Obviously, the sooner the better, but they if they're being cooperative and National Grid is working with them, then I think that's great. It'll get done, and there's a lot of years left on this thing, and it should ramp back up.
yeah, we've got 13 more
with
years
new
of savings
inverters.
to go.
Yeah, and
So we might end up basically saving the town 1.5 million. 1.5 to 2 million is my guess.
mhm.
Now that's sort of not assuming prices go crazy for a long period of time, which may or may not be the case, but
The net metering
Pretty good.
credits are gonna go up, if energy prices go up, so that's good.
Yeah, and the original, I think my original estimate was 55,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
and that would have been around 1.1 million. So look, I mean, we really did well during the price spikes from the Ukraine war.
Mm.
And I think this really highlights the benefit of the price volatility mitigation.
Yep.
And given that one of the reasons the budget for the schools are over is energy, I think it just emphasizes again the benefits of having solar energy for the town for managing budget, having certainty around energy costs, which can be very volatile in this industry and in this region. So these are all things to think about and all things to emphasize. We got a little bit of pushback on the police fire station. They said, this is so tight. We don't have a lot of space. If what you're proposing is putting in solar and batteries for the rest of the town, this is not the site to do it. But, the answer is every site is the site to do it if you can do it. Because this is only 10% of the town's usage. And we've been struggling to try to find sites. And once the school roofs are replaced, I think, those are potentially open for business, subject to the school approving that. But I think our education continues so that we're top of mind and the solar's top of mind.
We can also make sure we pick the right inverters next time around.
Right.
I will comment that this, the inverter issues like this are not unusual at all. It is the number one problem with solar is inverter failure. It's the number one reason why production, far more than weather, why production falls short is inverter failures.
That's really interesting, Doran. Do you know why is it that inverters have an engineering issue here?
It's funny, it's not too different than Tanya's comments about the electric bus. These things are quasi computers, and depending on the electrical connectivity to the grid, they have to be set right, and sometimes the settings aren't quite right, and that's when the finger pointing starts. They just happen to be a little bit more complicated than people think they are. And I think you couple with that the fact that there are a lot of manufacturers of inverters and the quality varies significantly.
Yeah, you sort of think there should just be like transformers, right? Just upping and downing the voltage, but it's a whole different kettle of fish.
It
Has
really
to
is.
change DC to AC and
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So, excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Chris, you showed up right on time.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Well, sorry, I was so late. I had another commitment I needed to attend to.
No problem. It happens. Okay, so we're to the matters not reasonably known in advance. And Steve, you had 2 items you wanted to discuss?
Yes. I heard a very interesting and I think an important presentation that addresses a lot of the work that we do. It was by Paul Fenn. He is the co-author of the original 1997 Utility Restructuring Act that set up our community choice aggregation programs in Massachusetts. And so he was talking about, he calls that CCA 1.0. And CCA 2.0, he helped write for California, which has been much more successful than our CCA programs. And then just recently, he he went another step further and wrote what he calls CCA 3.0 for New York State. So anyways, he is very disappointed with the way that the CCA programs, original program worked in Massachusetts. It does not achieve at all what he was, the intent of the whole program. The intent was to incentivize the build out of renewable energy in Massachusetts, and that has not happened. The only place it's happened was with the Cape Compact. What was it called exactly? Cape Light Compact, a consortium of, I think it was 6 or 7 towns on the Cape. And they built out 20 gigawatts of capacity in renewable energy on the Cape. And that's about the extent of it in Massachusetts. The CCA
I don't think it's gigawatts. Do you mean megawatts?
No, gigawatts. Well, he said gigawatts for all of Massachusetts. And then he said that the only place that was successful at that was the Cape Light Compact. So, but maybe there was elsewhere in Massachusetts too. Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke. 20 gigawatts is what California did with CCA 2.0. In Massachusetts, it's only 600 megawatts. I'm sorry, you're right, Tanya. That was totally out of the ballpark. I meant to say, in Massachusetts, there's only 600 megawatts, and compared with California's 200 gigawatts of capacity. And the problem is that the original intention wasn't for towns, the CCA programs to depend upon the renewable energy certificates, is what it's boiled down to here. And he considers that a fraud. So anyways, there's an important bill. I'll try to be brief here. I could talk for probably 20 minutes about this, but there's a bill before the State House now to revamp the CCA programs. And he would like towns to sign on to this and lobby for it. And what this is going to do is to provide an alternative structure for the programs so that towns could get the funds directly, not through National Grid or whoever, but use those funds that are already being collected on the electric bills to build out distributed energy, nanogrids and microgrids for towns in Massachusetts, and change the law so that the utilities cannot stand in the way, so that any power generated and used, consumed behind the meter would not have to be approved and negotiated with the utilities, which right now it's a nightmare, as we know from our attempts to look at a microgrid. So it sounds like there's a lot of good things in this bill, and I would love if we could get him to talk about it for our committee, or hopefully with a couple of people from town staff to hear what he has to say about it.
Is he doing a speaking circuit?
Well, I don't know. He spoke. I heard about it because of it was on the Fix the Grid Technical Committee, which I try to listen in on. He is apparently, his talk was sponsored by the Local Energy Advocates of Western Massachusetts. I'm not sure what that organization is exactly, but he did indicate in his talk that he was available to talk about this with other groups. So I would really like to see our CCA program achieve its original objectives of promoting renewable energy, locally generated in towns. So this this is important for our aggregation program. It's important for our efforts to build out renewable energy in Cohasset with the solar arrays and whatnot, for our idea of microgrids and nanogrids. So I think for all these reasons, this bill seems to be important. And it basically, I think it boils down to getting the utilities off our back if all we're doing is building out renewable energy, distributed capability that's behind the meter. Since we're not going to, send that power back onto the grid, they shouldn't have to be concerned about it. Shouldn't be in their, So I think that's the main idea.
But hold on.
Yeah.
If you have a battery, you aren't sending it back. If your battery is full or doesn't work, you are sending it back.
Yes, so he's right. Battery capacity is a big part of what his idea and how this would work, and not just the utility scale batteries, but car batteries, which and thermal storage, using like your hot water heaters as thermal storage, and other ideas he has. So it's not to say that it'll be terribly simple, but anyways, I think he has a lot to say.
Okay.
He's
Is he
a very
speaking to
interesting
towns?
speaker. I'm sorry?
Is he speaking to towns? Like, would he come to Cohasset, our 1,000 person town, and speak to us on this? Or
I don't know. I haven't inquired. I wanted to just mention it to our committee here. I mean, if we're interested, I'll try to get a hold of him and see if he would be willing to speak to us, even though we're, a small town. But hey, like this guy is really interested. I mean, he authored the original bill. He's authored this new bill that's now before the State House, and he's promoting his ideas in other states too. His latest ideas he's promoting in New York State. I think he said it. New York State actually passed the bill that he was promoting there. So you got the original bill in Massachusetts, a newer bill in California in 2017, I think it was. And already that bill in California, even though it's like a decade and a half later than ours, they already installed 20 gigawatts worth of capacity through their CCA programs. So it's been a tremendous success there, and he sees even more of it for New York State. So anyways, my understanding is limited. I just heard this is one presentation. It lasts about an hour. And I'd like us to see what he has to say if he's willing to speak to us. If he's not willing to speak to us, I have his slides and I can try to summarize what he was saying. So that's all I have to say about it. But what do we think?
what do people think?
I think it would be interesting to hear. Sometimes these these things can be pretty complicated politically when you're trying to get around the utility, as you know.
Right. Well, there are other bills to try to get around the utility too, some of which 350 Massachusetts that I participate in is advocating for, and that's the restructure Mass Save and get it to work better and get it out from under the thumb of the utilities. So this isn't the only bill that addresses that issue of how do we get more renewable energy in Massachusetts in spite of the slow walking of the utilities. Now, of course, the biggest issue in the way it's currently conceived of is the lack of grid capacity. The fact that we really we don't have the big wires that we need, and the other distribution infrastructure. But there's a lot we can do without that with distributed generation and focusing on stuff that's behind the meter. I think we can make a lot of progress, and that's the message that this guy is giving us. So I would like to see us try again to get a microgrid sort of project going. But, we ran into difficulty before. Well, what was it, Tanya? Stretching wires across the road or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was also expense, right? The all-in cost to lay down 6 linear miles of new wire on existing poles, which probably wouldn't stop the falling tree issue.
Yeah, I don't know why we need 6 miles of wires, but anyways, that's a discussion for another day.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the microgrid that we designed was around a rectangle that covered 90 to 80, like 90% of our critical energy infrastructure. That was Sawyer Street, Main Street to Pond Street up to 3A. And that rectangle basically connects to 90% of our critical energy infrastructure and has a direct feed to the main feeder line coming in from Wampatuck. And that is 6 linear miles for that type of microgrid. Now, if what you're talking about is a microgrid behind the meter at the schools, we don't need any new distribution wire as long as the existing wire can support it. And that would host 1 to 1.5 megawatts of solar and whatever the batteries are. There's plenty of space for batteries if we want to put the batteries, and convince town people that the batteries are not going to explode and kill their children, which I'm sure we will hear about if that is what we proposed. But there's enough space away from it that we could do that. So it's a question of what are we trying to do? Getting the new roofs on the schools opens up a whole lot of opportunity for us, and that's happening.
Well, and what about the idea of making CCA program, the aggregation program, really work as was originally intended to help get a build out of renewable energy in our communities, like a community solar. This feeds into the community solar idea too.
I know, but where are you going to put it, Steve? We've been scouring this town for town-owned locations that would host solar. We've looked at the MBTA parking lots, which are perfect for carports.
Well, we got a lot of, yes, yeah. So these are more, larger, more commercial arrays, but what about helping people with rooftop arrays?
Okay, how do we help them?
Residential solar. I don't know. But in any event, this
Wait,
guy.
but you were talking about community solar, so.
Yes, right,
Not-
right. A combination of things. I don't know what the possibilities are, but
Steve, is his bill, the bill that he's talking about, intended to provide funding for these installations?
yeah,
that
well,
general idea?
people are, we're already paying a penny more a kilowatt for the standard CCA standard CCA program. So those funds could be, perhaps applied in a different way. Right now, we're paying them the national grid. Maybe there could be an alternative way that would help people. I don't know.
Wait, hold on. Are we paying them national grid?
Yes. I'm sorry, not national grid. No, we're paying through the aggregator, that extra penny.
Right, and the aggregator's using that extra
Yeah, the
penny per
aggregator.
kilowatt
I'm sorry, I
hour
misspoke.
to purchase SESREX
Yeah.
from solar energy arrays that are being built wherever they're being built.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would like to see CCA programs work better. I would like to see them, in his view, he's so disappointed. He considers it an abject failure. He doesn't think that, except for the Cape Light Compact, none of the towns in Mass, 180 towns or so that have CCA programs, have really used the program to get any renewable energy in their town, or in their area. So I don't know. It's not working the way he had envisioned it would back in the mid 1990s when he introduced the original bill. So he thinks he has a better idea. It works better in California. Somehow they've used their CCA program to get, many gigawatts of power built, renewable energy built. So maybe there's something that could be done in Massachusetts if the laws were changed. I don't know. I certainly want to learn more than I was able to gather from one presentation.
So the CCA is one thing, but also under that same restructuring law is the whole program that we were using to take advantage of the Select Energy community aggregation, municipal aggregation. So under the restructuring, somebody can bid to be able to provide actual physical solar energy arrays to towns. And if they are chosen by the state, the town can pursue that directly without having to go through a 30B procurement process. So we've been in conversations with Select Energy. I think there are now new players who are chosen by the town. Select Energy may not be, or by the state, Select Energy may not be involved anymore. And I continue to think that is an avenue for us to get free assessments of how much solar a site, such as a police fire station on 3A, can host. That is still a possibility for us to move forward through that program without having to go out to bid through a 30B procurement transaction to get sole sourced pricing that was already competitively bid to bring them on. So I think just because somebody says it's an abject failure, I think we need to be critical about, even if it were to proceed, what would we do differently? And given what exists, what can we do? And just continue to do what we're doing, which is thinking critically and trying to find ways that benefit the town with respect to building out solar, the locations where we can do that, opportunities like the police fire station where we can do that, and doing it in cost-effective procurement ways to make sure the town's getting a good price and great savings. Because even with the problematic inverters, our little solar energy array on the old landfill is coming up on $500,000 of savings to the town. And we're only a third of the way through the contract. So I would love to hear him speak. I'd love to hear what he has to say. And if he has some ideas on how we can either work within the existing rules, or if there's like a set of rules that would unlock opportunities, especially for our town, I would love to know that.
Okay, the most important thing I'd like to get from him now is a little bit better understanding of this bill before the State House and how it would help us, get more renewable energy in our towns.
Yep.
He spent a lot of time in his presentation talking about his dissatisfaction with the way the current CCA program was working, but relatively little time talking about the details of the legislation, which is the important part of the whole thing.
Well, as always, Steve, you are a wealth of knowledge, a font of knowledge. So I think learning more about what his ideas are great. If you'd love to talk to a town that records and posts, that would be great too. And I'd love to find out more about his thoughts, or have you talk about what his views are.
Oh, I could do that too. I mean, I could try to learn more about his ideas and talk to other people that, like on the Fix the Grid Technical Committee, that know a hell of a lot more than I do, what they think about it. and talk with some of the people I know on the 350 Mass legislative team, ask if they have reviewed legislation and see what they think, and maybe give you a short report, maybe a 10-minute report
Mhm.
at our next meeting or something. And then if it sounds promising, we could see if we get the guy to come and tell us what the real, correct all my errors. So,
That would be great. That would be great.
okay,
Why don't we
so
do that?
put me on the agenda for next meeting, and I'll be
Okay,
motivated to find out
what's the
more.
topic? Legislation? Upcoming legislation?
Yeah, uh, new CCA legislation.
Or proposed?
Yeah,
Okay.
proposed. Well, yeah, a new bill for revitalizing the CCA programs in Massachusetts.
Yep. Very good. We'll make a note of that. Okay, great. Was there something else, Steve?
No, that's all I wanted to talk about, I think. Did I mention something else? I sent you a couple of emails. I can't remember anything else. This is what was on my mind today, so.
Yep, there was, I think, one other issue, but we may have addressed it.
Can I share my screen again with a little?
Yes.
So I was able to sort of get some back data on sessions. Go back to the beginning of 22, just for grins. So this is the same chart we were looking at before, but goes back to January of 2022. And you
Mhm.
can see pretty much the time when we introduced the charge. I mean, there's clearly two segments of this, sort of a ramp up to a pretty high, and then post charge. This
Mhm.
chart out to the right. I thought it was interesting.
Wow, you know what? I mean, look at the angle of the two lines.
You know, yeah, that's cumulative. Really flattens a bit.
Yeah, but you could take the slope of that angle divided by the number of days and get an average charge per day that would be so much higher than the second half.
What's the date where that line breaks?
Right
I
here,
can't
let's
quite
see.
read it. Yes.
Yeah, that's September, mid-September of 23.
Uh, 23.
That was when we put in the charge of 22 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay. So that's interesting. That's a direct consequence of that starting to charge, going from free to charging. Okay,
Yeah, and
that's a
you
good
know,
chart. That's an insightful chart.
if you could screenshot that, Chris, and
Yeah.
send that to yes, to all of us along with this. Well, I have the screenshot of your other chart.
Yeah.
This would be useful to put into the meeting minutes. So maybe send it to Martha and copy myself.
Okay, great.
This is fantastic.
Is are the axes labels legible on your screen? They're not on mine. They're too small.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, they're legible on mine. It goes from January of 22 on the left to today on the right, and number of sessions from 0 to 35.
Yeah.
Have
And
to-
if maybe you could put a title on the chart so we know. I'll have forgotten in a few days what this is a chart of, and I don't see any label on it. Any
There's some
title.
labels. It's hard to see, but there are some
Yeah,
labels.
they're up
Is there a
here.
label over there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's where they put them in. Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah.
Very nicely done. All right. Any other matters not reasonably known in advance? Well, this is always an exciting committee. There's always something new coming on and great ideas and great discussion. So thank you everybody for your time and for making tonight's meeting. Our next event is May 3rd for the Cohasset Cleanup Day. And we'll have a table and we'll have information about what we're doing. And I think the next article in Stroll is going to be about 500 million or 500,000 reasons to go solar, to do more solar, just to celebrate our little, or something. That's a working title, but to celebrate our little old landfill solar energy array and how much money it's saving the town. And our next meeting is the second Thursday of May, which I guess would be the 8th of May.
Okay. One little question before we adjourn. I see we have one attendee. It's not a panelist, a seventh member here. Do we know who that is?
That's Julia.
Oh, I thought
Who's
that was
running the
County
meeting.
Cohasset, but okay.
Is there somebody else in the
Well,
audience?
there are supposed to be 7 people. There are 7 people on this Zoom call, and there's only 6 of us here. So there are 6 panelists and 1 attendee.
Yeah, the attendee is Firefly's AI note taker, Martha. I tried to promote them because I didn't know if it was Martha, but they denied being promoted.
Oh, it's an AI?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sorry, I was just really curious.
No, that's good. All right. Anyway, thank you very much. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second?
Second,
Second is from Tom Daly. All right, no discussions needed. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, AI note taker.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
bye.